Thank you, Deputy Speaker. That caught me by surprise, but anyway. That's all right. Today I rise to contribute to the Summary Offences Amendment Nazi Salute Prohibition Bill 2023, and it's humbling to stand in this place and follow on from some of the incredible contributions from all members across all sides, and in particular the member for Box Hill, with whom I agree with his contribution, and the speed of which this has come up has been shocking, and I didn't think that we would expect that this would be an issue that we had to deal with so quickly. But before I discuss the broader points of the bill, I would like to address the opposition's proposed amendments, and the member for Albert Park has made some important points yesterday addressing the opposition's amendments, and including the important point that these two matters have already been carefully considered in the development of the bill. And this bill has been, carefully drafted, and the proposed amendments are both unnecessary and they're not appropriate. It's important to note that we can observe through these amendments that both the opposition and the government desire the same outcomes, and certainly the policy intent for this bill. And it's a rare show of unity, and I appreciate that, and I think that's commendable, and I take point of the previous contribution from the member from Morwell, and it is fantastic to see that we're all on one side in regard to this particular issue. Just addressing the opposition's amendment propositions, that issue of the definition to be changed from symbols and gestures used by the Nazi Party to used by and associated with the Nazi Party. And Deputy Speaker, this has already been considered through the development and consultation of this bill and through the drafting of the bill. And it was considered that the inclusion of the words "and associated with" will expand the operation of the offence, capturing a wider range of symbols and gestures. So I don't think it's the desired effect of what this bill is all about. Of course, the point of this legislation is to protect Victorians from the harm caused by Nazi symbols and the Nazi gestures. And of course, the definition in this bill needs to be targeted and direct to symbols and gestures used by the Nazi Party. To the opposition's second amendment, it is a proposal to include police powers to direct people to cease performing the Nazi salute and gestures. What the opposition failed to realise is that the police don't need additional powers to verbally communicate or direct people. That is what police do. That's their job. We don't need to waste time telling the police how to do their job. The amendment is superfluous and it's unnecessary, so I don't think that needs to go ahead. The bill provides powers for police to direct a person to remove a Nazi symbol or display of a picture of a Nazi gesture from public if the police officer reasonably believes an offence is being committed. And this power is needed because it requires the police to direct someone to take a positive action, which is to remove the display. So, as the Speaker's changed, so Acting Speaker, disappointingly, we are moving an amendment to legislation that's not even 12 months old. In December last year, this government enacted the Summary Offences Nazi Prohibition Act 2022, effectively banning the public display of the Nazi symbol. And since then, we've seen an increase of groups using the Nazi salute. So it's very frustrating that we're here today even having to debate this issue. But the member for Box Hill, who is the acting Speaker at the moment, reminded us that the Legal Social Issues Committee at the time of the Summary Offences Bill being passed warned that there would be infringements and enforcements needed to come into this bill, and it's exactly what this bill will do. The member for Malvern and Bulleen also provided some incredible insights and dimensions to this debate, and I wanted to acknowledge their contributions, and I appreciate what they had to say. But of course we can't pretend that Nazism is just an opinion, and it needs to be treated like the contagion it is, like the hateful disease that it is. The fact that we need to be here finding ways to suppress Nazism here in Victoria is just stomach churning. And look, some time ago in my electorate I was approached by a Jewish family who were contemplating moving from their area of southeast Melbourne down towards the Melton LGA at Fraser Rise, and it was lovely to meet up with them. And Fraser Rise actually sits in the electorate of Sydenham, but what they were indicating to me is that there was about 30 Jewish families that were preparing to move into that area. And I just want to clearly state that those families and every other family that chooses to move into that electorate, they are very welcome in our community. And I look forward to engaging with them into the future. And I thank them for selecting the Melton LGA and the Melton area as a place that they wish to raise their families. And I know they'll make a huge contribution to our community out in Melton. And of course, that's one of the great strengths of the Melton population, the wide acceptance and the diversity and the strong faiths that coexist in our community. Because all Victorians deserve, no matter where they live, deserve to feel accepted and to be safe and to be included. And of course, Nazis are fundamentally opposed to that. They spout fear and justified biases by seeking out like-minded people, often co-opting them from less acute positions. They name call and use non-inclusive language. So even when we talk of the systematic extermination of Jews in Europe in reference to the Holocaust, it is designed to dehumanise Jewish people. And we see this kind of language occur when we are being made to believe that class divisions exist between us. It was a deliberate strategy to dehumanisation of a cohort of people and making them seem less than human. And the horrors of the Holocaust are forever relevant, and of course the lessons of the Holocaust are forever teachable, and I'm pleased that we are teaching about that action and those actions in the schools. Of course, the Tutsis were referred to as cockroaches during the Rwandan genocide, and slave owners have considered slaves to be property and subhuman. And during the Holocaust, the Jewish people were referred to as rats. And when we talk about extermination of the Jewish people, we continue in a subconscious way to perpetrate that strategy. The illustrated pyramid of hate that was developed by the Anti-Defamation League demonstrates how hate escalates when it is not addressed. Stereotyping, justifying biases by seeking out like-minded people, attitudes that lead to acts of bias, name-calling, ridicule, social avoidance and exclusion, microaggressions and dehumanisation. And acting speakers, there's not a lot of steps left after that before genocide. There is some recent German folklore that tells that if you go to bed with a Nazi, you become one. That if you invite a Nazi to a dinner party with 10 people, you've got 11 Nazis. And I'm not here to argue German folklore, but addressing this infestation and limiting the spread is the primary goal of this legislation. Exemptions exist around artistic and academic disciplines, and safeguards introduced to apply to those who may not be aware of the vile and offensive history of targeted and manufactured hatred against those persecuted. So when you stand next to Nazis, you lend them your voice. You absolutely show your solidarity to their cause, and you commend their actions and their goals. And if you don't speak up, you allow them to get away with it. And of course, the member for Monbulk wisely quoted former Chief of the Army, Lieutenant General David Morrison, that the standard you walk past is the standard you accept. And in this case, the standard you stand next to on the steps of Parliament is the standard you commend. I was going to make reference to the band KISS, and in German legislation, it was strong enough to ensure that the logo for the KISS band, who last week rocked the MCG at the grand final, needed to be redesigned for German audiences. But before my time runs out, there's one point that I really want to make, if I can find it, of course, and that is I want to speak about these characters that are out there, the groups who stand there and doing their pathetic salutes that are designed to intimidate and scare people. And of course, they wear their masks to hide their face. We know how gutless you really are. You're not a hero. They're all scared to expose themselves and take their mask off because they might be scared of their mother because she might see them. They might be scared to lose their job because their boss might see them. They might be worried about people that what they think about them at their local football clubs or sporting clubs or community groups. So again, really tough way of dealing with it, of trying to intimidate and harass and scare people by masking up. And if these people were so adamant to their cause, maybe they would take their mask off. This is a really important bill for this state of keeping people safe and included, and I commend this bill to the House.